Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, and I know what some of you guys are saying. Why isn't this live? Why isn't this a stream? Well, your guess is as good as mine, guys. For whatever reason, YouTube is not receiving my stream. I tried OBS. I tried XSplit. So I've tried more than one program, and it just seems like it is not receiving the stream for whatever reason. I don't know if it has something to do with the encoder, the stream key. I don't know. I tried to redo it and retype the key and copy and paste, etc., etc. It's just not working for us tonight, so I figured I would just do this as a pre-recorded production. Hopefully you guys can still get enjoyment out of that. Sorry that we can't live stream it, but I definitely will try to get this rectified. Maybe it's just a YouTube issue. Again, I've tried 2 different programs, so obviously it has something to do with YouTube. So hopefully this time, guys, you'll just enjoy the pre-recorded production and leave your comments just the same, and I'll be able to comment back to you guys. So basically, man, let's go ahead and get right into it, man. Not a ton to talk about, and it's gonna be even quicker with it just being me here without having you guys, the live audience. So I'll try to dive right into it. Some, unofficial Steeler news, some basically who used to be a Steeler. I'll just mention that, Artie Moats announced his retirement today. So, I think Artie Moats is definitely going to take on a career in broadcasting now. I see he's doing a lot of things over there with Steelers.com, SteelersLive.com. He was out at the OTAs and such. So there you have it. So I'm pretty sure that Artie Moats has a bright future. He's an intelligent guy. Did some things from us while he was playing for the Steelers. He also played with the Bills. So shout outs to him. I believe he had 9 total seasons in. So, hey, great career coming from, a smaller college in a James Madison, a JMU. And shout outs to my cousin Floyd, who will probably see this. He went to James Madison as well. So that's pretty cool there. But yeah, just give a, quick round of applause, to Artie Moats. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's see if it shall work. I think it's working. I won't know it until it's played back because, again, I'm doing the recording and I'm pressing the buttons and I can't hear them, on my side. But it is what it is. Hopefully it worked. If it didn't work, let's give Artie Moats a nice thumbs up right there. Nice, happy thumbs up. Job well done. All right, guys. So the next thing we're basically going to talk about here, man, let's go into talking a little bit about, the Artie Burns situation. I definitely want to cover that. I'm just looking at my list here. Talk about Ben Roethlisberger being impressed by Moncrief and Johnson. And also I want to do a buy or sell. Do you buy or sell the fact that Mason Rudolph will be the number 2 quarterback, in training camp or even coming out of training camp, but more importantly, starting the 2019 season. So I guess we'll start there. That's kind of low-hanging fruit right there. We'll go ahead and attack that one first. Then we'll kind of work our way backwards. And then finally, we'll end with the Artie Burns information. Buy or sell Mason Rudolph being the number 2 quarterback. I'm going to buy. There's a couple of reasons why I'm going to buy. One reason would be is when we drafted Joshua Dobbs. I think we drafted Joshua Dobbs just because we needed to try something. We were at a point where Landry Jones, we've seen enough of him and we wanted somebody to push Landry Jones. Clearly we weren't drafting the heir apparent, but we were just drafting, one of the guys that was in that quarterback class, that quarterback crop in that particular year. So we figured we'd draft one of these guys, take a shot at them, if we can get them in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or what have you. And we took a shot, man, and we drafted Joshua Dobbs in the 3rd round. Now, Joshua Dobbs, his play has not lived up to that 3rd round pick. We've seen him in 2 consecutive preseasons now. He's done some decent things in preseason, but still not what I would prefer to see in terms of running the Steeler offense. I think you're going to have to cave in a little bit with Joshua Dobbs and maybe allow him to do more things that's more suited to his skill set. But the biggest problem with Joshua Dobbs, man, in my opinion, is just I haven't seen that increase and that uptick in his accuracy. That's pretty much the issue with Joshua Dobbs. And maybe you can work on that. He's going into year 3 now. Maybe he has improved, and I'm sure he's not willing to just give up the number 2 spot. He's going to go into camp pretty much at the number 2. You know how the Steelers do. They give the veterans and they give the guys who've been there for a while, the guys who have tenure, they always give them a shot until someone else overtakes them. So that's pretty much what you're seeing in Joshua Dobbs. He's probably going to come into the season, not necessarily the season, but I guess you would say it's still part of the season now that they're doing the mini camp this week, and then once they get into training camp, he's probably going to start off as the number 2. We'll see. I haven't heard any otherwise. However, here's another reason. We saw what Joshua Dobbs was unable to do against the Oakland Raiders when Ben Roethlisberger went down. I mean, that game, how many chances did we have? Our defense played as hard as they could. Yeah, we gave up the touchdown at the end of that game, but look at how many, possessions and stops that the defense did get, and they gave Joshua Dobbs another opportunity to just get down the field, maybe get a field goal, and it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. He just did not look good at all in that game, and nobody was, holding the Raiders defense as being a top defense, for the most part. I mean, I think they're pretty decent in some areas, but come on. You should be able to try to move the ball, or at least get an opportunity to move the ball against those guys. Even though Ben struggled with it a little early, got his footing going a little later, but you all saw how that ended up. When Ben went out, Dobbs just didn't look like he was ready and able to handle that offense. So that's one reason, man. Our recency bias will probably kick in when I just think about his most recent performance. But again, coming out of college, we already know his accuracy was in question. Now, a guy like Mason Rudolph, I would expect, he's more of a guy that has aired it out a little more deep shots and things like that, more, he passed the ball a lot more. Let me cut off my Ring doorbell there so you don't hear that interruption. Let me mute the phone here. But, you would think Mason Rudolph would be more of the passer first type of guy. So that's who I would prefer to see take the number 2 spot. And also, I think if he's unable to beat out Dobbs, then again, I'm going to look at the Steelers brass. I'm going to look at, Kevin Colbert. I'm going to look at Tomlin and the scouts and whoever else had a hand in drafting Mason Rudolph. Because remember, they said they put a first-round grade on the kid. So if you're grading him that high and he can't beat out Dobbs, something's wrong. Something is seriously wrong, and then we may have failed on that 3rd-round pick when we clearly could have went anywhere else, to try to help the team, perhaps defense. That's primarily what we all wanted that year, just as much as we wanted defense in this last draft. So that's just how I feel about that. I think Mason Rudolph has the talent. I like his moxie. I like his tolerable arrogance, if you will. He bets on himself and he thinks he's good and he thinks he can do this and do that. I love that in a quarterback. All right. I love that. So I think for those very reasons, yes, I do buy that Mason Rudolph will be the number 2 quarterback going into this season. So I definitely buy that. Now, as far as the Dante Moncrief and Deontay Johnson news, Roethlisberger was quoted as, definitely showing some very, being very impressed by these guys and showing some interest in what they've been able to do. What I'll actually do, man, is read a little bit of the article I was looking at on both guys. Basically when asked about Deontay Johnson here, let me find it here. They basically said Roethlisberger seemingly confirmed that his rookie wide receiver has passed all the tests. He said, the one thing I noticed was that he caught every ball that I threw to him. All right. And he basically said, I even threw some bad balls on purpose, threw some high, threw some behind him. And it's just good to see him catch every ball. And that was the main thing that was impressive, is that he caught everything that was thrown at him. Now, why is that important, you might ask? Well, you remember my critique of Deontay Johnson after looking at his tape, for all of the good things that he did. One of the things I said he needed to work on was being able to catch balls that are outside of his range or not thrown right on target, and show those natural hands. That's what Colbert said, that the scouts kept saying, as you talk about this kid, all you kept hearing them say is natural this, natural that. So I look at that and say, okay, well, if that's the case, then great. Let's see these natural hands. So it sounds like he's expanded his catch radius, even the balls that are out of his reach, high and behind him. Because again, if you look at the tape, there were, a few opportunities that he had. If he could have just went up and pulled it down, he did go up, he just couldn't pull it down. And then there were some that were kind of behind him a little bit that he let, slip through his hands. And a lot of us, including myself, said that, those were probably concentration catches. But again, you want to see a guy build off of that going into the NFL. So the fact that Ben said he caught every single ball and this is at the mini camp today. Every single ball that he's thrown at him, even the bad ones, that's a very good sign. And that, if you're impressing Ben Roethlisberger, and guys, you got to take a little bit of it with a grain of salt, because obviously they're not going to say anything extremely negative out in the open, especially at this point. But the fact that Ben is even saying that, I feel good about that. That's definitely a good thing. Now, what he basically said about Donte Moncrief, he said, let me find it here, guys. Give me a second. They said that he at minicamp today, he made sure to note that not only has he spent extra time with Johnson this offseason, he's made sure to do the same with a fellow wide receiver, Donte Moncrief. He said a veteran off-season free agency addition, blah, blah, blah. That's what the article is saying. But what he actually had to say about Moncrief, he said he is impressed with him for most of the offseason so far. He says, I'd probably go as far as saying Donte Moncrief would be the most impressive because he's new. He said, I kind of knew what to expect from some of the other guys. I wasn't really sure what to expect when he came in. I didn't know him, and I'm now just getting to see his work ethic, the type of person he is, his desire to be great, his knowledge of the offense already. We'll do no huddle stuff, and I'll give him a hand signal, and I'll be like, hey, you good? And he'll say, hey, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm good. So basically, Roethlisberger is saying he's already picking up on the hand signals, and he's doing a great job knowing the offense already. Says he is in the coaching room with Daryl Drake every single morning, pretty much every day. Another thing he says here is he said, you see a desire and want to be great. I've really enjoyed the opportunity to know him, to work with him so far. This is an awesome opportunity that he's here, and we're getting to work together. He was with us when we went on that trip, and it's been fun to get to know him as a person. So again, this is what you want to hear your quarterback say about your wide receiver, especially Donte Moncrief. Of course, people are looking at him as the guy who was quote unquote, replacing Antonio Brown as the ex-receiver. But it's just good to hear this early. Again, whether it's, hyperbole, whatever you want to call it, whatever that is, regardless, it's still good to hear these things, specifically from Deontay Johnson, since I had a few questions about his catching radius anyway. So I think it all will work out in the wash, man. I think Donte Moncrief is a hard worker. We forget this guy is a bigger receiver at 6'2" and 200 plus, and is fast. He is a fast guy, so I think we're going to see more than what we've seen from him with Roethlisberger being the type of quarterback he is. So I'm not going to sell Moncrief short in this offense. I think he has an opportunity to be somebody special, and then if we can have him make enough noise, then that's going to free up Juju once again. When you slide Juju inside to the slot or what have you, you'll have to worry about both of these guys. So looking forward to seeing how everything's going to pan out, man, and how that chemistry comes together. All right, so the last thing I'll basically talk about here, man, let me get back to my list to make sure I'm not missing anything. Artie Burns. Question is, will he make the 53-man roster? Will the Pittsburgh Steelers release Artie Burns? Okay, will they release him before the start of training camp? Because if I'm not mistaken, before the training camp, if he is there during training camp, then the Steelers will owe him basically an $800,000 signing bonus, or a roster bonus, whatever you want to call that. I believe it's a roster bonus. So the question is, will the Steelers release him before that happens? A lot of us would say yes. I'm sure a lot of you guys are saying that. I'm sure a lot of you guys are wanting him to go. But let me caution you about something. Look at the depth right now at cornerback. There's not a whole lot of guys there beyond Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson that have experience, and also experience in the Steelers defense. Now I know that's not throwing Artie Burns, a rope and trying to save his job. I'm just saying sometimes people make your roster because of the lack of depth on your depth chart. Artie Burns could be the next contestant to do so. It's very possible. Because, once again, who's behind them? Okay, we can't rely on Justin Lane. You know, traditionally you can't say that he's going to be the guy because he is a rookie. Now, if this guy balls out in training camp, he shows enough in preseason, we'll see. But again, by that time, it's too late. You know, will the Steelers attempt to trade Artie Burns? Artie Burns we probably could get a late pick for him, perhaps 6th or 7th round. Somebody might take that chance. You know, it's very inexpensive, if you will. You know, his salary is not really that high when you're talking about the cornerback market. And maybe somebody thinks that he has some potential, just maybe in a different system. You know, you never know how someone else is looking at your trash. And I'm not calling him trash because I said I don't do that about professional athletes, but I'm just saying, you know, using that metaphor, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure. There could be another team looking at Artie Burns saying, you know what, we could get something out of this guy. And there you have it. Maybe we make a trade. But it's interesting. I don't know. I really don't know, man, because if the Steelers keep 6 cornerbacks, what they're more than likely they're going to do, I would think right now Artie Burns is fighting Brian Allen. And if I had to put my money on it, I would say that Artie Burns would get the nod over Brian Allen, and that would keep him on the team, because you're looking at Joe Hayden, Steven Nelson, Cam Sutton, which we're not hearing a whole lot about right now, Mike Hilton, Justin Lane, and then there's the 6th spot. That's either going to be Artie Burns or it's going to be Brian Allen. Or it could be one of the, you know, guys, one of the guys on the 90-man roster that we don't know about. I doubt it, but I'm just saying. So to me, he was a first-round pick. You know, the Steelers don't traditionally just outright cut a first-round pick. He's only on, you know, one remaining season. They may just let him play it out. I mean, if the $800,000 is a factor, if the Steelers feel that they could save that money, then maybe they will cut ties, whether it's trade or outright cut. But I wouldn't go to the bank. I wouldn't go to the bank thinking that Artie Burns would be cut right away. Here's another reason why. You know, Joe Hayden missed some time in OTAs, and who did they say was the first man up? Artie Burns. Even though Artie Burns typically plays on the other side, but still, Artie Burns was getting first team reps along with Steven Nelson in Joe Hayden's spot. So why is he the first man up instead of Cam Sutton? You see what I'm saying? It wouldn't be Justin Lane, because obviously that progression has to come naturally. But why is Artie Burns the next man up? See, that's very telling. Again, it's only OTAs, and it could be a, you know, variety of reasons why the Steelers would do that. You know, maybe they just want to get a last glimpse at him. They might not need to see as much out of somebody else. I don't know. But you have to pay attention to some of those pecking orders like that, because sometimes they're very telling. So those are my thoughts, man. If you can release him and you're comfortable with doing it, go ahead and do it. But if not, then we're going to have to live with the fact that Artie Burns is on that roster, and at some point he may actually have to get on the field. Not happy about that. And again, man, everyone continues to say, and I'm talking about the Steelers organization, they continue to say it's confidence. Nothing would please me more than Artie Burns that is able to get his confidence back and contributes this year on defense. Nothing would make me feel better than that, because the more bodies, the merrier. The more people that can do something, the merrier. You know, I don't know why people are always ready to cut players and throw them in the trash. Obviously, if they're not working, yes. But I'm saying I'm never opposed to a player turning the corner, regardless of when it happens. I'm never opposed to that. If Artie Burns turns out to be a beast in this season, which, guys, I know we're just speaking, but I'm saying, if that were to happen, I wouldn't be mad at that. Same way I wouldn't be mad if a light switch came on with Bud Dupree, and this year he ended up being Stud Dupree, putting up 12 sacks. I ain't gonna be bothered by that. I don't hate the guy that much to where I just want him gone. No, if he's there, I would love to see him turn into Stud Dupree. I would love to see Stud. I would love to just see Bud. The best of Bud works for me. I just don't want to see Dud or Elmer, as Kenyon would call him. So those are just my quick thoughts on the subject, man. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Artie Burns, but I just wanted to enlighten you guys and let you guys know that he seems to be very much in play right now. Could be smoke and mirrors. The Steelers could be planning to let him go before that bonus hits. But in case they're not, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware that Artie Burns was the first man up, replacing Joe Hayden, missing time in OTA. So there you have it. But all right, guys, like I said, man, I hate that it wasn't live. I really hate when I can't interact with you guys. But hey, you know, if we can't do it live, I'm still going to throw the content up for you guys. So you never fear, never worry about that. I'm always going to throw up the content if I can. And I'll try to figure out what's going on with the live situation. I think it's got to be a YouTube thing because, you know, my streaming is just not working there. So it's got to be YouTube. I doubt very seriously that both of my streaming software programs aren't working. So, all right, man, that's going to do it. Make sure, if you haven't already, do your boy a favor. Hit that like button. Doesn't cost you anything to hit the like button, man. Just press the thumb up. Go ahead. Also, man, you can always follow me on Twitter. There it is right there. At SimFBallCritic. Y'all heard me get tongue-tied right there. At SimFBallCritic. You know, you can definitely follow me there. But if you want to shoot me a comment really quick, you know, even in situations like this, if you notice the show hasn't started, hit me up there and I can usually respond to you and say, hey, yeah, I'm running a little bit late. Hey, I'm having technical difficulties. Or, hey, no, there isn't a show. But that's how you can stay connected with me as well. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, man, you're doing yourself a disservice. Not just because I want subscribers, obviously, but man, we have a good time over here. So make sure you subscribe so you know when these videos are available, as well as the live streams. Go ahead and be a part of the home team, man. We'll be happy to have you. All right, but outside of that, I hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy the rest of the finals. Tough luck to KD, man. You know, I wish him well. I hate to see a guy get injured like that, but you know, sometimes things happen. But all right, man, hope you guys have a great rest of the week. I can't talk right. Y'all heard me say reek? Maybe I'm talking too fast. Let's try this again. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll be back to you guys with more content, but especially on Tuesday for Terrible Towel Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. God bless. See you guys later. Peace.